these are the papers that I'm going to be using. These are from my field selection. So I have copied them on one side, but because I don't want to have the glaring white on the other side, I have put some further photocopying on the other side. So this one I've just used a nice splattery tea splatter, and this one I have used a crumpled paper bag, music sheet, and some more splatters. These ones, I've still got to think about what I'm going to do for these, and you'll see how white they are on the other side. So I'm going to try painting them just with some watercolours or even making some strong tea or coffee stain, because while it's lovely to be able to photocopy on both sides, we're all a little bit aware of costs of ink and those kind of things. So I'm just going to have a go and see how that works. I wasn't sure how this would work because the paper that this is on, which I had professionally photocopied, is quite shiny, but anyway, it looks as though the watercolour paint is definitely going on okay, and it's definitely taken away that very glaring white look. Of course it's curling the paper up quite a lot as well, but that doesn't really matter too much, does it? I can iron that out later on and give it a nice crinkly kind of a look. So that looks as if that's going to work okay, and I think I need a bigger brush. I'm going to try with a pastry brush and see how that works, because that won't matter too much. I might try a pastry brush when I'm doing my coffee dye. Let's try the coffee dye. Well, I ended up drinking the coffee, so then I've made this tea, very strong tea, out of a couple of tea bags of some ancient tea that's been sitting in my cupboard forever, and now I'm using my pastry brush, which is giving me a much better cover. So what we have now, after quite a few minutes, hours of painting, ironing, making messes, we have got the start of 2 signatures for our book. I've tried to put something on the back of all of them, although I realise that we don't want to completely cover them up because otherwise there'd be no room for journaling. So there's one, and here's the other one. A start made on it. I love using this beautiful tracing paper to pretend it's vellum. And anyway, we can look through those later on. I've cut out some of these little pockets from my set, so they will go in. And these little tucky things for writing on. And here's another one. I'm not much of a fussy cutter, so you can see that there's still some white around these ones, but I don't want to cut those all out. And these are little journaling cards, but they've been printed on paper, and I'm going to reprint them because I really want them to be a little bit more firmer than just paper. So I'm just going to maybe use these ones for other little pockets or tucky places, and so we'll leave those paper at the moment. And then I've got a few more pages I think these might be pages I showed earlier. Anyway, these ones still have to go into the signatures. Now, I know we normally wouldn't have every single page in a junk journal made out of something that had been printed out, but I'm doing this just because I've got so many pages. Once I start designing, I seem to not be able to stop. So I've got a lot of pages, and I'm going to use these. I might intersperse them with a few more bits and pieces of real junk pages as I go, but at the moment that's what I've got. Everything is something from my junk journal set. Now I've printed these tags onto some very heavy watercolour paper, and it's made them into something much more firm than these original paper ones. So I'm really very pleased about those. I think they will be nice. There's the other one there. They've printed off a little bit more lightweight, but I think that's because it's been used by, it's my inkjet printer rather than the commercial printer, which I presume is a laser printer. I need to know a little bit more about these things. So now I will show you this very nice piece of paper that went into my journal. It's a piece of Indian handmade paper that was given to me by my auntie a long time ago, and I've always wondered what to do with it. I always thought I should be writing some special letter to some special person on it, but never had the opportunity. So it's going into my journal. There it goes. I thought you might like to see the real life mess that's going on here. Some funny kind of mistakes. Oh, there's my scissors. So I put this little pocket on, and I thought that I was going to sew it. Unfortunately, I've got a new-ish sewing machine, and it doesn't, I just don't understand it as well as I did my old machine of 40 years. And so it started to do all kinds of stupid sewing, which I will fix up by putting something attractive over that later on. But then it left holes in the back, which I've covered up now with this crazy paper that came with some wrapping that I got, and an apple tree. And then you can see that I've also put in a little tuck pocket where we can put in some little tucky items, and there is a little tag that's been glued on, and I've done a little pen and ink drawing there. I've made a bundle of such cute little cards to go in for tucks and for journaling on the back of. It's a bramble, because my field is about, a lot of it is about brambles, because there were so many brambles in it. That's a little rabbit, because there are so many rabbits out on that field, which I've made into a little tag. And because I've got an apple orchard out there as well, I've made this little tag of a woman reaching up into the trees to get her apple. I'm so looking forward to putting all of these in. This one was a picture of a little girl and a little boy feeding rabbits. I think I went down a rabbit hole with this one because it's not really about my big field, and also as if to show me that it's not about my big field, it made some, I wasn't careful enough when I was making the tag shape, so I've cut some of it out. So I may or may not put that in yet, I haven't decided. Depends how many bits and pieces I need to go in there. So now I'm going to be making the book cover, and I've put this off really because I feel, even though I have watched dozens of YouTube videos on how to do it and it looks reasonably straightforward, I feel that it won't be. But anyway, I've cut out my covers. I've cut out 2 pieces of heavy cardboard because in New Zealand we don't appear to have chipboard. I've made them slightly larger, slightly taller than the height of the signature, and slightly wider. I just think that that's what I would do. And for the middle part, I have put a tiny little mark halfway at the top and halfway at the bottom, and I think that will probably be enough to get me to get that straight. And then I will be able to eyeball, I'm pretty sure, eyeball these by using the top line and just making a bit of a guess as to how far out it can go. I might be sorry that I haven't marked that, but anyway, I'll try for that and see how that goes. Maybe I should have watered this glue down a little bit. Feels quite overly thick and sticky, but never mind, we'll see how it goes. I'm using the brown paper because I'm not really sure what I want to use as a actual cover paper, and I'm just going to glue along the edge here because I don't want to get my fingers too gluey. Yeah, so I thought that I would just put the brown paper and then I could decoupage over the top of it, which I rather like the idea of. Right, how is this going to be, do we think? Yep, there's going to have to be quite a bit of decoupaging going on there just to cover up these wrinkles. But at least the back and the front cover is actually on, and I'm not too worried about this somewhat rustic look that we're going to have, so long as the whole thing holds together is really my aim here. I'm going to leave those to dry and then do the next part. So the next thing that I have done is folded up these flappy edges, and where they joined, where they made a crease, I've cut these bits out so that I can glue it all up like that. So that's going to be the next part. I think I'm going to water my glue down a little bit just because. So here we are with a slightly more watery glue. I'll do these sides first of all. In fact, it's quite a bit more watery, so hopefully that will, it's certainly going on a lot more smoothly, which is rather good. I'm just going to tightly pull that up, leave it just to stick for a minute. I'll stick the whole lot down a little bit better shortly. Oh yeah, that's going on very delightfully. Pull you on, stick you down a bit. I think this glue is a little bit like false eyelash glue, where it's good to just leave it for a little bit before you actually try to attempt the sticking part. I don't know. That's what I think anyway. So here we go. Well, it's definitely sticking, even though I've watered it down, so that's good. And the last bit. Hopefully this will all stick down beautifully. And tightly put that down. I've got a bit of glue on my desk, which wasn't really part of the plan. That's why I was gluing on the card rather than the paper, so that I didn't get glue on it. That's pretty good, and I hope when I stick a piece over there, everything will hold together. It sort of looks like a book cover, doesn't it? Sort of. Yeah, I think so. I'm happy with that. I'll let that dry. Here's my cover, which I have pretty much finished now. It does look a bit rough, but it's still quite damp, and so some of those wrinkles will all go when it dries out, as they do when you're putting up wallpaper. So the back is still just the plain brown wrapping paper that I used. I've put these strips of Petersham ribbon down the side, which I quite like the look of that. But that was because this pattern I printed onto a sheet of A4, which didn't quite reach to the ends of the inside of the book, so I put the ribbon down there just to fill up that space, and I quite like the look of that. And then the front, I just printed out the same pattern, except I put it on white paper now instead of on grey paper, and that's going to be the front. Then the next part that I have to do is putting the signatures into this cover, which is going to be jolly interesting. So there's my cover. I'm quite pleased with that. Looks like a cover, doesn't it? I'm going to leave that to dry. So now I'm coming to the part that's making me quite nervous, and that is the sewing of everything together. I found this candle wicking thread, which seems to be fairly strong. It still had a needle and thread in it from some project, but I think that's not robust. Okay, so I'll be using 2 threads of that. This is my pokey thing, which is quite a lethal weapon really. I found it in the workshop. Who knows what's in the workshop, but luckily this was. So first of all, I tried with my Fiskar punch. I thought that I would be able to punch a nice neat little hole in here, but it just wouldn't go through that card at all, not even a hope. So I've given up on that and ended up poking in the first 2 holes in there, and I've done the second 2 holes up here. I'm poking onto an old telephone book, which seems to be working quite well, and now I'm going to measure the centre point between those 2 holes, which will be 9. I'm just going to poke through there. I noticed that some of the YouTubes really would suggest that you're going to be doing it oops, that's not quite right, is it? Don't know where I was measuring that from. Anyway, some of the YouTubes say that it should be 1, 2, 3, 5 holes, but a lot of them seem to be just working with 3 holes, so I'm just going to be doing that. And I've completely measured that wrongly, but I'm sure it doesn't matter if it's not exactly in the centre. So I'll pop another hole through there. And they seem to be okay. I just poke them through the other way as well. Let's go in a reasonably decent kind of a hole. And then I'm going to make a little, well, I'm not going to make a template actually. I'm going to make a mark right on my signature. I've put the signature together with these clips so that it's nice and firm and I've got everything in the right place. I feel a little bit of I hope they're all kind of close enough together. Hope so. Now I'm just going to make a little pencil mark in there, which matches up to my not very straight holes. And one there. And then I'm going to poke holes through that as well. I think that should be easy enough to do. Does that look... oh dear me, goodness me. That one's right anyway, so I'll put a hole through that one. And I might just reorganise these ones off camera. Well, I have managed to do it. There's the centre part in there. Cleverly put one page in upside down, but I'm sure that I'll forgive myself for that. That's a learning curve, isn't it? Another learning curve was I used these to make some little flappies for some paper that I oiled with baby oil. Lovely, makes a lovely job of, oh you can't see it very well there, but it makes lovely transparenty kind of paper, but unfortunately it does leave some little marks there, so that's another learning curve for me. But anyway, we've got that one in and we've got this signature in somewhere. There it is, tied in. I'm not sure whether I'm going to cut those off or not yet, but I'm really pleased. This is my very first journal. Very simple, quite a big space between the two signatures, but it doesn't really matter because I've got my paper down in between there anyway. And I'm going to finish embellishing it, and then I'm going to go through it with you. Here we are. This is as finished as it is at the moment. It's got a little tree charm there because it's about big field, and a few things sticking out of it here and there. I am probably going to put quite a lot more in it, but over a period of time. It also needs some kind of a decoration on the front, but I quite like the plain front at the moment, to be quite honest. So just to have a look through, I've put a little bit of lace down the side there just to give it a little bit of a finished look, and the usual thread down the side. So here we have on the front cover also, I don't know if you can see, but it's got a little bit of a sheen because I put Mod Podge over it. I understand so much more about glues now, and I understand Mod Podge is for decoupage. I think I might have mentioned that before. So I've put it over the front, and in this front cover, in these two little flaps, I've got a picture of my little grandchildren out in the big field, which inspired me to make this journal. So that just fits in there. And then we have got a little opening up thing here with a little watercolour picture on it. And on the other side, some flowers that I would love to have growing in my garden, but never will because they're a bit tropical. So that just folds up like that. Got a little tag to write on there, held in by the paper clip. And there's a little tuck pocket there, which I haven't got anything in at the moment. That's the back side of that little tag. Plain page. That page. Here we have got another picture of a garden that I absolutely love. Look at that. A little summer housey kind of a shed there with a cute little roof and a little river coming down there. So that's going in there as kind of inspiration, I suppose, and held in place there. Just a little tree embellishment there. Little tiny watercolour that I did. Another little clip-on thing. So what I've got is a teeny tiny envelope, and that goes in that teeny tiny envelope, but I'm just leaving it out at the moment. So that's just a little apple to symbolise my apple trees. And you can go back there. These are all pages for journaling. You could journal plenty on there. And in here, pages for sticking things on or decoupaging. You could write here. I kind of want to get a white pen and write on there. That's what I think I will be doing. Another little tag. This little tag's got a tiny little story about, a little tiny part of the story about the Flopsy and Mopsy bunnies, to remind me of the bunnies in my field, so it's going there. And another big page for journaling. More for decoupaging on. There's my upside down pocket with the happy sun in it. And that one just with that doesn't do anything, it's just a little bit of embellishment. And here we've got a little centre tuck pocket, which I have put in with a nice bright green washi tape, and in it it's got a little tiny watercolour doodle for writing on the back of. And also you can write on the back there, that's got my bunnies and hedgehogs that I find in my field. Oh, I love that splodgy podgy page. There's the centre bit down there. And here we have a little pocket with another teeny tiny envelope that you can put something in, and a couple of tags. That's just a little watercolour that I did, so it's in quite firm watercolour paper. You don't want to go in there just at the moment, alright, that's fine. And another couple of tags, some more watercolour roses and daisies. A little collage there. A little butterfly card tucked in there, and a couple more little cards that I think you've seen. I've just tucked them into that little side area there. of those little notepads. And I think that's almost the end. Alright, there's my two, my apple lady and my bunny are both in there. Tuck them in there, and that is the end. That has been a journey indeed. I am so happy to have finished this. I'm so happy to understand a lot more now about making junk journals. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I am very, very keen to get started on another one and use a new set of designs for another one. Thanks so much for watching. If you're still here at this point in time, I'm pretty impressed. Well done you. Thank you so much. Bye bye.